Welcome back. In this section, we're going to begin to use our custom handles to build onto our hierarchical rig. We've actually already begun building a hierarchy here by grouping our various parts of the body and the wheels, grouping the wheels together, and then also grouping the groups in an overall group called the vehicle. See that there's a hierarchy happening here. Now the next bit is we've created our handles. We're going to make sure that those are rig ready again. So make sure that you've selected all of your control objects. You're deleting them by type history, and you are freezing the transforms on all of those. You can just go ahead and reset and use the defaults. And doing that, you should be able to select each of these and see 0 translation and rotation, and then 1 for the scale, and no inputs. So I can see that I already have a problem, and it's good when we have problems so that you also know how to troubleshoot those. Let's go ahead and try this individually. We're going to go ahead and delete history, and we're going to freeze the transforms. And I see that because I've done it individually, it has worked for me now. So let's go ahead and make sure that we are doing these individually for my 2018. So that we do not have difficulty with our rigging as we use these handles. Delete by type history, transforms. Alright, this has locked transform, so I'm going to go ahead and select that and unlock it for now. And making sure that we are clearing any remaining data on that one as well. Delete by type history, freeze your transforms, and one more back here. Now, if we do not get rid of the transform data, what happens is when you're animating around in the world, your parts of your vehicle are going to fly apart and disappear. There we go. Always watching the transform data as I'm working through here. Alright, just to double check. Looks like we're doing okay. And we're ready to go on to the next step. Alright, so we're going to work on this wheel to start. I'm working on the driver's side front wheel, and in doing this we want to make sure to name our controllers as well. I'm going to name this one left front wheel control because it is a control object. Now I can go ahead and name it here in the outliner. That is left underscore front underscore wheel control object CTL. And now I'm going to use that for my left front wheel. Alright, so when we're using constraint, or when we're building constraints, we always use or select the handle first. And because I'm working with group nodes, I'm not going to try to select my group in the viewport. I'm going to go ahead and use my outliner to do that. So I'm going to select on my wheel first, and then I'm going to control select the wheel that I want to associate that with. Remember, I'm building the up and down movement, the suspension. I'm going to come right up here to constrain, And I'm going to use a type of constraint called point. And get the options box up there and reset that. Now, first thing that I want to recognize is that I need to maintain the offset of my handle. So that's your very first checkbox. Your offsets go gray. You have nothing more to do there. And you can just simply go with all three axes if you'd like, or you can maintain the integrity of this. We know that we only want to go up and down, and so we can go ahead and use the constraint axes here by checking it, or we can simply lock that down afterward, which is oftentimes what I will do. So I'm going to go ahead and apply this. And note that now that translation is affected. Go ahead and close this. And now we can go to the move tool and we can see that we are moving up and down here. Now, I also want to make sure that I'm locking down the amount of distance that I have here for the up and down movement and the Y. And I also want to lock down any transform data that I don't want the animator to use. So first we're going to go ahead and tackle the amount of distance, and it feels like it's inherited a previous setting, so we're just going to take a look at that. In the attribute editor, second tab for the handle itself, we're going to go ahead to the first tab, and right down here under limit information, if you open that up, by default rotate is open. So you want to limit your translation data up and down and Y. You'll notice that you have X, Y, and Z axes listed here, and you have minimum, you have current, which is always 0, and then you have the maximum. So yes, it has inherited data. I'm going to go ahead and check those off, and we will go through the process again. I'm going to go all the way up. Notice my current data entry point is changing. I'm going to go up to the point where I don't want to break through the fender like I'm seeing here. I want to go up enough to show the natural movement of the vehicle. Now I'm going to do call it with my eyeball. Just make sure I'm not going up so far that I'm going to end up with my undercarriage on the ground. So with a 22.98, I'm just going to round that up to maybe 25 and then load that in as my maximum. And you can see that that figure has changed now. I'm going to go ahead and lock that down, and I'm going to go the other direction. So if that car were to ramp off of something and end up in the air, I'm going to get a drop on that axle. How far does that drop? Say about that much. I'm going to load that into the minimum. I can do a round figure here also, a negative 30 perhaps. Load that in and lock it down. And now I have a min and max established, and regardless of what your animator or your coder is doing in the game, those are the limitations. That's as far as the y-axis is going to fall. Alright, to get that back exactly where it needs to be, go ahead and put in 0 in the current, come back to the channel box, and we're going to lock down all of the axes that should not be affected, and that's everything except for translate Y. So go ahead and choose all of these, transpose data entry points, then right click, come down to lock selected. Now you can see that there's an indicator, little gray blue flag here next to the data entry point. You're not going to be able to select those and use those now. Alright, excuse me. But you can go ahead and select on this particular data entry point and click and drag with your middle mouse wheel back and forth in your viewport to get the appropriate position that you want to key. All right. Now, the suspension is the same for all of the wheels. So we're going to break here on our video, and you are going to go ahead and build your suspension with each of these respective nodes, your handles, with each one of your respective wheels here. Make sure the naming convention is the same for the wheel as it is for the control object, adding CTL to indicate that being a control object. Then we'll come back and work on the steering. Thank you.